This is the Weekly Set, the official podcast of TVEnthusiast.com. Episode 57, recorded May 19th, 2016. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Weekly Set. This is the official podcast of TVEnthusiast.com. I am your host. My name is Tyson Gifford. I am the editor-in-chief of TV Enthusiast, and joining me today, as always, is our keeper of comics, Will Roerick.
Hello.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking mostly about Peaky Blinders, but we're also going to talk a little bit about The Last Man on Earth, because season 2 of that series just ended. So that's what we're going to jump into right now. So I don't want to say too much because I think there's a lot of people that haven't tried this show and I don't want to spoil it for them. So what I'm going to say is that this is a show that's totally worth watching. It's a show that's consistently been getting better. The first season kind of had this weird cringe balance. You know, like cringe shows where you watch it and half the time you're like, okay, this is really funny and it's cringe, and then the other half of the time you're like, why am I watching this?
Oh, you
this
mean
is
like
too cringe?
you mean Arrow? Yeah, totally. I know all about Arrow.
But it kind of falls in that balance there, yeah. Where like just as you're getting to the point where you're like, okay, I'm gonna give this up. This is just too cringe. Then it'll do something really funny and kind of keep going. Season 2 kicks in and things go much better. So season 2 is a huge improvement over season 1. Stuff feels a bit more balanced. It's more interesting. There's a really cool cameo in I think the first or second episode of the season. That's just just such an amazing cameo. It's hilarious. And yeah, it goes on. There's a story that builds up that's really, it's funny, but then there's also a lot of emotion behind it. So in the final episode, and this isn't a comedy like Louie, where it's a comedy that can be really dramatic, but it's more a straight up comedy. And yet, I was pretty emotional at certain points watching the season finale. So, yeah, definitely Last Man on Earth is a really good show that I think just people aren't really talking that much about. So
yeah, you know what? I haven't seen any I forgot the show existed because there's just no discussion about it, at all. It's weird. Yeah. But yeah, you just basically reminded me that the show was still a thing, and it has been something I've been meaning to check out because I like, God, I can't think of the actor's name now. Will something, right?
Will Forte.
Will Forte, that's it. He was, yeah. I like that guy. He's a funny comedian, and so I've been meaning to check it out, but one of the things I haven't gotten around to.
Yeah, I think that's the case for a lot of people. It's, I don't know how well the show's doing. It seems to, I'm not really hearing, it's struggling or anything, so I guess it's not struggling much. It's not encouraging much discussion, but, it's definitely worth it for people to kind of check out and talk about it. Maybe it's just getting viewership from real casual fans that don't really talk about shows. I don't know.
I don't know. Or just people who just turn on the TV for background noise and...
Yeah.
I don't know what the deal is.
So there's been a lot of upfront news this week. We're not going to really talk about that. That's where we have a new show that's going to kind of go over that. Even though we discussed it last week, I didn't have time to make show notes for that. So we're going to jump right into our main conversation, which is Peaky Blinders. So if you've been watching along with us, we're going to be discussing episode 3 of season 1. And yeah, so Peaky Blinders. Still good. Enjoying it quite a bit.
I'm still enjoying it. This was a good episode. A lot of tense moments in this episode.
Freddie Thorne is a thorn, man.
Yeah, Freddie Thorne is a thorn. He is stubborn. He does not want to leave. He is becoming a big problem for our protagonist.
That just cannot end well. It's just I foresee no way in which that will end well.
Oh, and that kind of backfires on her.
Will, you there?
I think your connection is dropping. Can you hear me? Or
yeah, I can hear you. You were kind of popping in and out. It looks like my connection's fine.
No, I just got your network connection. That's Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Yeah, I don't think there's any way that this can have a happy ending at this point. It's just no way.
Yeah. This is gonna go very badly. You can see it. It's, man, you get these characters every so often just refuses to kind of play along with the order of things. And man, he's causing a mess. Probably going to cause several characters' deaths. I imagine this is going to cause some serious complications between him and the police. There's already kind of a hint.
It's already causing complications between him and the police.
I imagine it's going to get worse. There's going to be some deaths, and then that's going to force the situation to the point where he ends up being killed. Maybe Ada being killed as well. And it's going to be like a colossal mess.
It's going to be a colossal mess. The second major plot thread of this episode was, the Trax and Billy Kimber, Tommy's attempts to take over that business from Billy Kimber by essentially getting into his good graces and like getting himself involved in Billy Kimber's business, getting the Peaky Blinders involved in that by positioning themselves as like the muscle for to protect his bookies. Mm-hmm. But really it's just a ploy to get their foot in the door so that they can eventually take over that, because that's Tommy's ultimate goal here. But there's the major scene was the agent there, the barmaid. Mm-hmm. Billy Kimber takes a real shine to her.
Yeah, Grace.
Grace. That ends in like a very uncomfortable scene where he is attempting to rape her, and then Tommy runs in and it's like, oh, she has syphilis, she's a whore.
So romantic.
Yeah, so romantic. Such a gentleman. Such a white knight.
In doing so, he exposed like a huge weakness of himself too, which, you know, might be fine except for the fact that she is an agent.
Yeah.
And he just exposed it to her. So we'll have to see where that goes. What did you think about when they were rallying up the Peaky Blinders? His brother, Arthur, comes in like a carnival leader, pulls them all together, and you see at least one kid who looks like he's like 12.
Like 12, yeah. He has like this like sharp like tool or something, and then one of the others like takes it away from him and gives him something even bigger and sharper.
So in reality, the Peaky Blinders, which was a real criminal group, was like considered a youth gang. So that was like a common thing. There were like kids, you know, involved in it. Jesus. So that was pretty crazy. I did like the way that Arthur was like leading the group in though, like, you know, twirling the cane and standing up like a carnival leader. It kind of gave that feel to it.
I like that. I liked how like jovial he seemed as he was leading everybody to beat up the Lees. You know,
we got to see the hats come into play again. The hats with the razors.
Get the hats with the razors to know why they're called the Peaky Blinders.
You know, with Arthur cutting off the tip of one of the Lee family's ears.
Yep. That was pretty brutal, actually.
And so Arthur had like a little bit of a crisis in this episode, where he kind of had realized that he doesn't know anything about what's going on. So people are asking him questions and he's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, he didn't even know about the guns until like Tommy told him this episode.
Mm-hmm. So he's just completely out of it, doesn't know what's going on. He gets really depressed. Thomas has to go and kind of cheer him up. In doing so, he basically says, we need a place to launder money, so we're going to buy this pub, and it's your pub. And they're like, I didn't know the pub was for sale. And he says, let's see, I saw the quote here, which is, I don't see the quote, but he basically says, you know, everything's for sale for us, brother.
Yeah. I like the scene where where, where Grace was asking Tommy for, money for like a better dress or something. And then he said something like, you have a nice dress. And she says, how much that suit cost you? And he's like, nothing, you know.
Oh, I have the quote for that right here, which is, I don't pay for suits. My suits are in the house and the house burns down.
Yeah. He says, my suits are on the house or else the house burns down. That was a great quote.
So we also got right from that scene, Tommy goes into a meeting with two gentlemen from the IRA. They want information about the guns that Tommy has and buy them. One of them's being kind of genial about it and offering, saying we can offer money. We want you to think it over. Let's do business. And the other one is just like a straight up douche nozzle and starts singing a song about the IRA loudly.
Yeah.
I loved kind of Tommy's reaction to that. Like he just kind of sat through it with just a plain face through the whole song, and then afterward just says bravo.
Yeah. It was like really intense too as he was singing it, it was really menacing. And like I think in the middle or towards the end he like slams, his fist down like on the table, It's like really getting up in his face while he sings this song.
Yeah.
It's like
Thomas is just like completely unfazed.
Yeah, he's just sitting there. He's like, yeah. I mean, it's clear that he's trying to intimidate Thomas. Thomas isn't being intimidated by this. These aren't the kinds of people that scare him, to be honest.
What was funny was after the guy left, like Thomas finally kind of started laughing a little bit about it.
Yeah.
And Grace was like, what about the no singing,
Yeah, what about the no singing?
Oh, yeah, so I continue to enjoy it. There are a lot of tense scenes in this episode. Like we said, that scene was kind of tense. Then you also
that scene was tense. There's,
the near rape was pretty tense.
The rape was pretty tense. The scene where Tommy and, Freddie Thorne, Freddie Thorne had the gun to Tommy's head and they were talking, that was a pretty tense scene. Tommy, knocks the gun out of his hand and he turns it around on him, pulls his gun on him. You could tell, that is so close to just going sideways.
Mm-hmm.
That was a very tense scene. Definitely a lot of tense scene. This show continues to be good. I'm enjoying it. I continue to enjoy the show. This show is top notch.
So, what did you think about the scene between, Chief Inspector Campbell and Grace? Whereas I think before they kind of really painted him as kind of like a father figure. Now he kind of almost comes across like Jorah in Game of Thrones. Where it seems like he's kind of a little bit more interested in her than she is in him.
I don't know if I took it that way. I think that was a continuation of the father figure, especially because she says, I don't need you to be my dad,
But then he had his hand on her and he was reluctant to pull it away. It was kind of like, it's just
I don't know,
a little creepy vibe.
Maybe I don't know. I didn't read it that way. I don't know if it was intended that way. I mean, I'd have to look it up. I certainly did. I read it as a continuation of his care for her being more paternal than anything. I don't think he has a sexual or romantic interest in her.
I think we're going to see as it goes on that this is my reading into it, but I think we're going to see that there is more to it for him. And it's unrequited, it's going to be similar to the Jorah situation where Daenerys kind of loves him in a sense because he's before the whole betrayal thing came out, but loves him in a sense because he's so loyal to her and kind to her. But at the same time, you can tell she's a little bit creeped out by him,
Yeah.
And I think we're going to get a very similar thing going forward with Inspector Campbell here.
No, but with Jorah on Game of Thrones, it was like so obvious. Like, he was not subtle about that at all.
I think we're going to get a similar thing here where it's going to be like, she's having to kind of deal with him and his kind of romantic feelings towards her and just being completely uninterested. Not even to the point where it's like there's even a possibility, just like nothing, you know? So we'll have to see how that develops though. That's kind of how I'm reading into it. We got, Aunt Polly tried to offer Freddie Thorne, 200 pounds and a ticket to New York, for both him and Ada to get out of there because, you know, Tommy's deal with the inspector is that he needs to run him out of town.
Yeah, pretty much.
And Freddie says he'll sleep on it, which immediately Polly leaves like, yeah, I know what that means. You're saying you want to sleep on it means that you're just kind of waiting for your opportunity to say no.
Yeah, pretty much. I need to sleep on it. No, you're just, yeah, he's like, will you women leave me alone? I let a man sleep on it. It's like, oh, okay, well, you're going to say no. You just don't want to do it.
Also, when Freddie was talking to Thomas in this episode, he confirmed Thomas's suspicion that he's interested in the guns. That became very abundantly clear, but then also basically denied that his impetus for going after his sister.
Yeah.
That, you know, oh no, like I've loved her and she's loved me since like we were 9 or.
Yeah, he denies what Tommy and you know, who knows? I mean, Tommy could be reading his own interpretation into that. You know, Freddie could be telling the truth.
I think Freddie is telling the truth that he loves her, but I think at the same time, he's trying to manipulate the situation. Like he thinks he's in a better position of power than he actually is.
Right.
And he's trying to kind of manipulate the situation to get those guns. So I think it's like both. I think in part he's trying to play Tommy for the guns, and in part he's just, yeah, you know, he actually does like love the girl. So it's just a matter of where that balance lies, and the fact that we can pretty much see the way things are shaping up that it's going to go very badly for everybody involved.
Yep, it is. It's going to end badly.
He's kind of a character type, an archetype, Freddie here. He's like he's that character that doesn't know his place and tries to bargain for a better position and ends up screwing over not only himself, but like everybody in the process. We've seen this in our shows. We've seen this in, Boardwalk Empire, which I've compared this show to before, but also almost any mafia series, kind of like organized crime-based series has stuff like this. Sopranos, you know, will have a character that's like that doesn't kind of know where their limits are.
Yeah.
And ends up pushing things, and things go very, very badly. For not just for them, but for others. Just like a ticking time bomb, a wild card. So that's kind of, I think that's kind of like the biggest part of the episode to me was this is a ticking time bomb, you know, and we got to see this fully now, that this is not going to go away on its own. This is going to play out.
Right. Yeah, definitely. This is going to play out in a bad way. And so yeah, you're right. It's a time bomb at this point.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I mean, that's pretty much it. We'll be talking about episode 4 of Peaky Blinders, not next week, because next week we're going to be doing the summer preview. So after that, the week after that, we'll be talking about episode 4 of Peaky Blinders. So if you want to watch along with us and continue talking about the show, then catch up and get on to episode 4. In 2 weeks from now, we will be talking about that episode. In the meantime, like I said, we have the summer preview coming up next week. That's what we're going to be talking about, what's coming up in the next couple of months. The fall preview that was up on the site before went through to the end of May. May's almost over. We're halfway through the month. So we're going to be talking about what's coming up in the next couple months, the next 3 months, June, July, and August. And that's pretty much it for the show. So thank you everybody for listening. Check out our website, TVEnthusiast.com. I've been your host, Tyson, and Will joined me today. Thank you, everybody. Night.
Good night.
If you would like to voice your opinion, send an email to theweeklyset@TVEnthusiast.com. TV Enthusiast is a part of the Enthusiast Media Network. Stay tuned to TV Enthusiast and the Weekly Set podcast for more coverage of all